Hello and welcome to Sailor's Projects. Today we're going to be making a backlit frame for this mirror tile that I laser engraved. So the plan for this, because I don't really have much material, is we're going to measure and mark a large plank of spare particle board that we have. We're then going to cut it out into 13-inch by 15-inch sections. We're then going to actually engrave it just to make sure that it actually is 13 inches by 15 inches. We're also going to cut out the inside to make the hole for the frame. Then after that, we're going to place LEDs. We're going to be using 24-volt room LEDs, the ones that you usually see in a college dorm. And after that, we're gonna throw everything together and hopefully it'll look good. So let's get to measuring and marking the wood so that we can start cutting and, well, start this process. We're gonna measure this and see how big it is. Now it is curved, but that is just because the material has been sitting against the wall for a while. So it is 51 inches by 31 inches. So since we need 13 inch by 15 inch, we should be able to get two 15-inch on here and then more than enough sides for the 13 inch. So I'm gonna start marking that right now. All right, now we have our quadrants marked out as well as they're gonna be for now. And now I'm going to get this ready to get cut up so we have our 6 panels. All right, so we got the wood fixed in place. I'm just gonna go and cut it the long ways and then put it back on and cut it the short ways. So now that we have our 6 panels cut out, we know that this is gonna be over 15, but the thing is, something this size we can actually cut on the laser cutter, so we're gonna keep it at that. So let's just see if these are all within or over 13. Ideally they're over 13. Okay, good. Is there any place where it's less than 13? No, it gets close to 13 and a half, but at most, so at its most it's 14, at least it's 13. So these are both good to use. Because this is 31, so I have a full inch to deal with on, or a full inch of wiggle room on these, which is amazing. So I guess it was just the first one because the other two were right on the mark for the 15 inches-ish, or 15 and a half inches. That one was just off for some reason. So I'm going to now throw a cutting file inside of Lightburn, and yeah, I'm going to just skip over and just because it's gonna be a noise, so you're just gonna get to see it cutting nicely. Alright, so now we have all 6 frames cut out. We're gonna now slap it on here with the DXF files that I prepared in SolidWorks, and we're gonna come out. Alright, so we now have all the pieces cut and we have our mirror tile all measured up. So now we're going to go and lay out the LEDs on the board. So the plan for this backlit frame is we're going to take these room light LEDs and we're going to bring them all around the corner. Now originally I was going to have it do a snake wise where I was going to go up and down, but I realized that due to the fact that I don't really have much left, that I actually could run out and have like this side empty or that side empty. So instead, I'm going to have it wrap around the edges and then move inwards so that even if I run out, like on one side or the other, there's still going to be enough backlit framing just to still make it look good, at least hopefully. So I'm gonna trace around the frame just to give me just a general idea of where I need to, or where I cannot put the stuff. And what I do plan to do is, I have a part of the frame that actually had broke. So now I plan to use that instead as a spacer, which is gonna allow me to, there you go, which is going to allow me to take the frame, or take the wires and just run them through. So the other problem with these is that you can't cut them unless they're at the, what do you call it? These lines right there, the ports. So I'm pretty much just going to, guess it would make it easier just to unravel it. Let's not get cut on the soldering iron. And I mean, I could technically measure this out, but I'm just saying that I'd rather just wing it and hopefully get it right for this type of stuff. And the best part is, I only need to make sure that one of these edges is open, just because of the way how these things work. So, come on, let's get it started. And since also this thing isn't going to be held up a huge amount, I can get away with just having it sit. I might need to use some tape. And even if I do end up having a lot left, I honestly might overlap it, just because I don't want to, not necessarily waste the material, but I would rather have a lot more LEDs than less LEDs. So I'm just gonna take it and fold it. Come on. So now I'm going to solder wires to the prongs over here, and then I'm just gonna have to probably desolder them to the bottom of right here. And I just decided, well, I guess I am just going to buy a new controller, so oh well. Alright, so we have it all wired up. Let's see. Well, it definitely works. Now the question is, how good does this look when you put on top of it? Come on. Show me the money. Ooh! Yeah, it's definitely gonna need the diffuser, but it does work. So before we drill anything on here for the frames, we're actually going to glue both the ends of the, ends of the LEDs, and we're also just gonna put hot glue on here just to keep them safe. I'm actually gonna pop this thing back in the container just so it's even safer. And yeah, then once we have everything glued on here, then we're going to take each individual frame, pop it on here, and that should be good, because then once it's glued on there and it's nicely set, we don't have to worry. What I also plan to do, which I kept talking about a diffuser, let's unplug that, is put something like this, which is a press seal wrap thing. I saw this in the kitchen and I was wondering if this would be something good to use with this, because it'll stop just the bright LEDs from showing through, and instead hopefully will make it a little bit softer. At least that's what I'm hoping. It also, granted, will stop it from scratching or possibly shorting. So. I know I've skipped a few steps. We have soldered, hot glued, and pretty much done everything. Now we have the two mid-frame layers put in, which gives spacing between the LEDs and the mirror panel. We have the mirror frame, which is actually going to hold in the mirror panel in. And right now I currently just have it hot glued. I do plan to use screws to hold it in a lot nicer, just because I don't want it falling off my door in the bed, or falling off my bed in the middle of the night. So now for the moment of truth. Should fit like a glove. Oh, look at that. Perfect. And of course we're gonna have one more frame over this. So let's just see how it looks in the frame and its current position. Not bad. I mean, something made in a weekend, it's not that horrible. And all these parts are parts that I just found, except the mirror tiles. I did buy the mirror tiles, but that's just because I didn't have one in my dorm room. And of course, how are we gonna seal the sides in? Hot glue. Now that we have all the frames put in, everything else is good, everything's soldered, I'm going to drill some holes in the corners and then put some screws in there just to hold it together, and then I'm going to sand off the edges just to make it just a tiny bit nicer. So let's go get the drill. Alright, all the screws are in, and this is pretty in there. So now we're going to go and, what do you call it? We're gonna go and sand this and make it look as nice as we can get it to. So let's go do that. Alright, let's get sanding. Alright, I mean, it's not the greatest, but I like the charm that it gives, where it looks like it got thrown together in a zombie apocalypse. So, alright, well, I guess I can consider that done. I think I'm gonna just remove some of this. Actually, no, I'll leave the glue. I like it. It looks rugged. It looks like you just threw it together just because you needed a gift for someone. So, alright, let's get to the last part. We're finally done. We've measured and cut the material. We've cut the actual frames out on the laser engraver and the handsaw. We've placed the LEDs. We've combined the layers, and we've soldered everything. It's finally done. We've gone through so many different design iterations. This was the original design, where it's going to be 4 of these around a square with a back pane like the final design have. But so I realized while editing this that it had just totally cut off because the SD card filled up. But it's awesome. It works. We'll see you next Sunday, 8 a.m. as per usual. Thank you so much for watching. So if you're watching this long, you get some nice behind the scenes complaining. So our filter could not keep up with our laser engraver when I was cutting this particle board, so I'd have to pause intermittently just to make sure that the room didn't fill with smoke. The wood that I was even cutting, the particle board, was so bent that I would have to mess around with the focal lengths just to make sure that it actually would, well, engrave the pieces of material, which is why they look so wonky. It's not because I don't know how to use a laser engraver, it's because this wood is just so bent that it's almost unusable. But this is the only wood that I had that was, well, above 15 and 13 inches. So, yeah, and the original version that I was going to use, which were these things, were even worse to use. A, they're thin. B, this comes from a bookshelf that I have in my room. And the coating, this plastic coating, I have no clue what it is. When you try and cut it on the laser engraver, it creates something along the lines of just death smoke. So this was horrible to go. I actually had to open the window in here multiple times, even use the secondary extractor fan. But these were absolutely abysmal, and I spent over a day making these just because I'd have to cut, like I'd cut one edge, I'd have to pause to let all the smoke go away. Cut this little part, wait for the smoke to go away. And I had to do that 28 times, I think it was, 28 times, just to get all the things of these that I needed. Just for me to go and say, you know what, we're actually gonna go and use the wood. So this took so much longer than I thought. If you wanna do this, buy your frame, just buy the frame. It will make your life a huge amount easier. So, I mean, did I have fun making this? In the end, yes. I'm happy that it came out and that it worked, but I should have just bought the frame, honestly. So, yeah. Yeah. I mean, in the end, it is what it is. I spent $0 on this project. I only paid with a few hours of my life, but in the end, it's worth it because there's a good chance I'm going to be keeping this thing for God knows how long. So, alright, well, now we'll see you next Sunday.